and welcome to Daily Space Weather, looking at the local yellow dwarf's magnetism here in colorized magnetogram. Sunspot 2757 has not presented us any technical difficulties. I've presented those all by myself. Anyway, there's the recent magnetism. We're looking at about 10 hours here. Let's look at 193 angstroms. And there's sunspot 2757, as well as this active region, which is not a sunspot, but associated with sunspot cycle 25. Now let's look at this HelioViewer movie. We made this morning as we did show prep, and pardon the delay, folks. There were a little technical difficulties. Again, they were caused by this guy. And let's look at some more data here. Here's the stereo A coronagraph, and we're showing you this coronal mass ejection that happened here back on the 24th. I'm sorry, the 20. It fully released on the 26th. There you go. There you can see the release of that coronal mass ejection. And it appears to be Earth-facing, folks. We don't see very much on the coronagraph. I'll let that play through again. We don't see much on the LASCO coronagraph, and possibly because it's too diffuse or possibly because it's aimed right at the Earth. But here's the latest data on the LASCO C2. And we don't see very much of a halo, except perhaps right at the end there. Perhaps an indication that this thing is aimed so directly at us that it's not visible behind the disk, or perhaps that it's just too diffuse, or maybe not Earth-facing at all. But we don't really see very much evidence at all on the coronagraph. So it's kind of odd. And looking at the GOES X-ray flux, we see a couple of B-class flares there, nothing too exciting. Let's look at it on the imager. There's the GOES 14 X-ray imager. And we'll just let that play through here and show the couple of flares that have happened. Very minor flares, B-class. There you see a little brightening of that active region down in the southeast. Right there. Two little brightening events. Those are those B-class flares. So those flares not coming out of the sunspot, but instead coming out of that cycle 25 plage. And no significant degradation of that sunspot. 10.7 centimeter radial flux still at 73, just slightly above solar minimum conditions. And KP index is at 1, having been at 0 for 15 hours up until midnight yesterday. And let's look at cosmic rays. As a result, we see a small uptick over the past 30 days at Apatity. And not so much the same story, a small downtick at Barentsburg. Here's the Athens neutron monitor, quite flat over the past 30 days. Next, Mexico City, and a slight uptick there, a similar slope to what we see at Apatity. At the Moscow neutron monitor, we see missing data. Again, we did leave links to the Network of Cosmic Ray Stations site, which was down earlier. And lastly, we'll look at OLU and DOMC Antarctica. DOMB Antarctica not sending back data. So there are the last 30 days at OLU. Small uptick there, slightly less than Barentsburg. And there is, I'm sorry, slightly less than Apatity. And there's DOMC Antarctica, quite flat. Again, if you want to monitor these yourself, links to the Cosmic Rays Stations network site below the video. Don't take our word for it. And let us know if you see anything weird. Next, we've got the real-time solar wind. And this could be the hitting of the coronal mass ejection, folks. We see a small uptick in the density and the speed at the same time. That is not the kind of signature you get with a coronal hole wind stream, so possibly the coronal mass ejection there. Just before that, we see possibly a tidal force like changing in the phi angle and the BT-BZ, all just before those protons arrive. Keep in mind, coronal mass ejections and solar wind are primarily made of about 90% hydrogen nuclei. protons. So here we see the last data here on the real-time solar wind. Phi angle currently around, that thing is bugged. Phi angle currently around 320 degrees. Solar wind density around 7.71 protons. Solar wind speed 320 kilometers a second. And if that's all that happens from the coronal mass ejection, it was indeed very low speed and indeed quite low density also. Here's the Geospace magnetosphere movie, and everything is looking pretty smooth there. Please excuse me while this plays. That's 4 hours of data. After this, we will look at the Geospace ground magnetic perturbations. And there you have 4 hours of that as well. Again, folks, pardon the technical difficulties. There were a little bit of screw-ups by me, I think, not the software. So I don't know how I screwed up so many videos. Hopefully I've gotten all my screw-ups for 2020 out of the way. These aren't particularly time sensitive anyway. Electron flux is quite low. Let's hit refresh. And there's the GOES electron flux, also very, very low. So no real forecast there. Next we've got 6 hours of ionosphere movies. And we see a very discharged ionosphere, first of all. And then it charges back up about by the time we're making the video. If you're wondering what time it is, 6:36. And here's the latest image at 11:30 UT. And we see a climbing GOES magnetometer here. By the way, thanks new viewers for tuning in, all you new subscribers out there. The N's and M's you see up here are noon and midnight local time for the satellite. So for instance, the blue line, which is the GOES 14, has just come off of midnight, its time, around 8 o'clock universal time. And we are solidly in the South Pole polarity current sheet. As you can see here on the Gong 2, this data 1 hour and 25 minutes old, showing you the Earth magnetic field force lines, the top view ecliptic plane field plot, as if you're looking down into the sun's North Pole, down into the North Pole. You see a little bit of bulging out here, the field force lines. That's that active region that we see emitting some X-ray flares. So keep an eye on that throughout the day for possibility of turning into a sunspot, if any place. Did you watch our video yesterday about toroidal versus poloidal fields? If not, we suggest you do so. Here's a teaser. It is about cosmology. Hole, you see the toroidal field. Is it starting to sink in, folks? Next, we'll look at the sun. And this is the kind of Gong 2 image that we look at regularly on the channel. The toroidal field is the interplanetary magnetic field on which you live. It is shown here in blue. So anyway, check that out if you haven't seen it. And let's do the earthquake rundown. As we see a bit of a lull in earthquakes. Just going to scroll up the list and see what's been going on in the last 24. 3 Middle Eastern quakes there, including this 5.2 in Iran. There's a 5.2 out there in the Aleutian Islands. And I'm just going to slowly scroll up here as we see basically a lull in earthquakes. A small deep quake at Alaska at a 2.7 magnitude and 103 kilometers. Largest of the past 24 is, I believe, this 5.5 at Japan. So basically a lull, a downtick in earthquakes, folks. There's that data. And before we look at volcanoes, let's talk about 3 different disasters in the past 24. Madagascar declares a national emergency as massive floods claim 31 lives. More than 10,000 homes inundated. State of emergency in Kazakhstan as a crazy winter storm hits, where it's like a hurricane but it's snow. And major floods and landslides leave 57 people dead after crazy rains with a jet stream blowing the wrong direction over Brazil. We covered it. And let's look at pressure zones. Let's bring this back. This is the GFS forecast, and we're going to let that advance 24 hours. And I will be right back. All right, and there's where things will be at 1900 Zulu tomorrow, according to the GFS forecast. And next, let's head to volcano discovery and see what's erupting today. Kluchevskoy back on the list, apparently, producing a 22,000-foot ash plume, so uptick there, and a general uptick in volcanic activity here as we see a downtick. And I've seen this before, folks, a downtick proportionally, almost seeming proportionally downtick between volcanoes and earthquakes and vice versa. Explosive activity at Shiveluch, so that's back on the list, 16,000-foot plume there. Mount Abiko, flight level 9,000 there. Mount Aso, not sure, don't pitch a tent on the slopes. Sakurajima, flight level 9,000 there. Semaru, explosive activity, as it remains on the list, 14,000-foot plume. Tokono exploding, 7,000-foot plume. Shishaldin, still showing hot spots in the satellite data. Seismicity remains at above background levels, and some elevated surface temperatures again. So Popocatépetl, new emissions there. Sangay exploding, flight level 20,000. Revenador, new volcanic ash observed in satellite. And Sabancaya, continuous emissions. Please don't attempt to pole vault the caldera at the Peruvian Sabancaya volcano. Let's talk about coronavirus. New updates coming in all the time on this one. And here's an AP story that we have picked up on smAshomash.com/forum. If you want to see a whole consolidated section about coronavirus, check out smAshomash.com/forum. We've got lots of information on there, and everything from what it is, all kinds of different articles about it. As the death toll continues to rise, and some projections of how it will spread are looking pretty bad. In any case, again, check out smAshomash.com/forum, as there are all kinds of human health stories there. So watch it evolve in a compiled data format via our own servers, where we won't censor you. You can say anything you want, no matter how crazy it is. Are you aware that harmless cancers are being treated and overdiagnosed according to new evidence? Well, we've linked to the article here on Science Alert. Don't over-medicine yourself, folks. It is distinctly possible that you may know more about your condition than your doctor. That's not medical advice. Don't try to take me to court over it. Just read the article. As many cancers are overdiagnosed, the main ones being breast and prostate, a lot of which are getting therapies that are not required. And if you want to read the article about it, check out the Medical Journal of Australia. We've placed the article also in the links below the video. How about some geoengineering? Shout out to the freethoughtproject.com. Hit me up, we'll do a video. Talking about geoengineering, and by the way, it's not chemtrails, although I would like to take a moment to state that plain contrails are pollution. They do make the planet cooler as they increase the planet's albedo effect. So, yeah, contrails are a thing. However, sadly, geoengineering is now a thing, as the government has decided to allocate $4 million to geoengineering. So please tell your congressman or woman at any level to vote down geoengineering, as it is one of the dumbest ideas, along with carbon sequestration, mankind has ever come up with. And again, shout out to the Free Thought Project, as we are huge incorporators of free thought into our channel. So give us a ring and we'll do a video. Hit us up for a 5-minute Skype call or something, and help us to crush geoengineering and things like the ScopeX project. Stupid ideas based on an even dumber premise that carbon dioxide is making the planet warmer, and that mankind has the ability or necessity to make it cooler, possibly triggering a positive feedback mechanism, creating a snowball Earth. Do you want a snowball Earth where billions of people die because of crop losses? And we see some new lightning kicking off, both in the southern Pacific as well as around Is that off the coast of Oregon? A little bit of lightning kicking off. Check out lightningmaps.org next time you hear thunder. The calculations of the sound waves are quite amazing. And here's a US Doppler, courtesy Weather Underground. Some heavy snow and ice coming down in Nebraska there. And let's move on to the water vapor map to give you a kind of a zoomed out view. Since the water vapor map shows us all the water vapor, not just vertical motion in the air column like Doppler radar, which is ground-based. So the water vapor map is a satellite-based system that is able to see water, whether or not it's condensed onto a cloud. Dry areas shown in orange and yellow, wet areas shown in blue. And we see quite a convergence over Texas. If you're flying a plane over Texas throughout the day today, there's going to be significant turbulence going on. Let's zoom in. And there are those zones. So it's there's a significant low there over the base of the Texas stovepipe, I guess you'd call it. Northwestern Texas. And a wonderful have you had your protons today moment in the Southern Rockies. So this line of dry air, keep in mind folks, dry air runs the atmosphere. And, you know, people follow low pressure systems because they're associated with precipitation, but the real inputs to the atmosphere are the massive air in the form of dry air. So because atmospheric nitrogen is more massive than atmospheric water, the real inputs are the dry air, which push around the moist air. The moist air is a slave to the dry air. And for the same reason a hot air balloon floats, a drag car or a time trial bike go faster on a hot, humid day due to the lower air viscosity than on a dry, cold day. Dry, cold days are slow, hot, humid days are fast, and it has to do with the molecular mass of H2O versus N2. Here are the jet streams on nullschool.net. I would note that the jet stream over the Atlantic Ocean is splitting into two in a decisive fashion south of Greenland. So it's quite an odd little split there, something we haven't quite seen before. And we see a powerful low pressure system there right off the east coast of South America near the South Atlantic anomaly. Let's look at the eastern world and move on and get this video out there. And by the way, folks, we will be headed back to live streaming as soon as possible. It's happening. No worries. And by the way, if you enjoy the content, please press like and subscribe on YouTube. Share on your social media and try to help eliminate our shadow bannedness. And thanks Smash Team for tuning in. Stay tuned for a couple of bonus features, not the least of which is the offer to try Coinbase. So click the links below the video. Try Coinbase. You get 10 free bucks of crypto just by using our link. So you get 10 free bucks, and you can also, it's free to set up a Coinbase account. You can also earn more crypto by learning about crypto. So learn and earn at the same time. Click the links if you want to dip your tippy toe into the tepid pool of cryptocurrency. I'm not a big believer. I believe that is a speculative investment, just like Dutch tulips. And if you want to hear more about Dutch tulips, leave a comment. We'll talk all about it. Try Coinbase via our link. Get 10 free dollars in crypto. And hey, it's 10 free dollars. It's a free account. How can you go wrong? Also, please consider becoming a patron, whether it's at the $1 associate producer level or if it's at the $9.99 a month gold patron level. Again, assistant producer versus associate producer. Patreon.com/smAsho, the real source of funding for the videos, and indeed all of the content, such as the websites. Consider supporting the channel, as we need a lot more funding in order to accomplish our goals in 2020. Part of the reason we're getting toward them is because of our patrons, so thanks, patrons, for that. Also, please visit smashomash.org. It's got all kinds of links And if you scroll down, there's a link to the newly unveiled smAsho forum. Just click that, and you'll be at the smAsho forum, and you can find all kinds of interesting articles about everything from cosmology, human health, general science, earth physics, geophysics, all that sort of stuff. So check out smashomash.org and smashomash.com/forum. And we'll close things out today with the local yellow dwarf here in 304 angstroms. We see some significant plasma filaments, especially in the northeast. So that's something to keep an eye on throughout the day. And again, ion is an intentional thing. And again, thanks for tuning in, Smash Team, etc. Please invite your friends. Please invite your foes. Please invite your science nerds as we attempt to get physics to advance, and indeed cosmology and the rest. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you drink, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may that solar wind be at your back, and that atherosclerosis absent from your veins.